Now, Blumhouse has kind of had this reputation over the last few years where whenever the name Blumhouse shows up before a horror movie, you can expect that it's probably going to be one of the worst films you've ever seen in your life. And there has been a lot of people who have just saying Blumhouse has never made a good film, they only make horrendous, cheap, crappy horror movies. And that really ticks me off because Blumhouse has made some amazing horror movies, my personal favorite horror movie of all time. And so I wanted to go through and give you my top 15 Blumhouse horror movies because, yes, they make good horror movies, just not very often anymore. Starting off the list, number 15, my least favorite of these 15 great ones, but still good enough to make the list, we do have Insidious. Now, Insidious is where I think the Blumhouse brand kind of really got pushed forward, because they had made films prior to this, but I think Insidious was what really put them on the map. Between Insidious and The Purge just really skyrocketed them as a good horror movie production company, rather than just the people who made Paranormal Activity. But I think this movie holds up. I think it has a lot of scary moments. I think it has a lot of good performances. I think, Elise, is that Lin Shaye's name? I think that's her character's name. She's a very interesting character, kind of like the professional, kind of like Tangina from Poltergeist or the Warrens from The Conjuring. She's another one of those characters, but she's very good. You also get Patrick Wilson in here. There's some very, very good jump scares, one of the best of all time. I think Tiptoe Through the Tulips is one of the scariest songs in any horror movie, and every scene where that song shows up in this film is terrifying. I think Rose Byrne does very good. I just think all of the performances all around in here are very good. I think Insidious has been getting a little bit of hate recently just because it was kind of started the, okay, decent, supernatural horror movie craze, but it was one of the first ones that did it, and it actually succeeds at being pretty scary, regardless of it being PG-13, so I really enjoy the original Insidious. It's number 15. Now, before we get to my top 14, I wanted to hit you with a few honorable mentions. The first being Purge Anarchy. It is my favorite of the Purge series, but none of the Purge movies were good enough to make the list. Unfriended, I think it gets a lot of unfair hate, but unfortunately it could not make my list. And Happy Death Day. I really, really like Happy Death Day, but I prefer a different Blumhouse twist on a classic movie. Coming in at number 14, I do have Insidious Chapter 3. Don't worry, this entire list will not be Insidious movies. These are the only two, and they happen to be at the bottom because I don't feel as passionately about these ones as I do my top 13. Now, that's not saying it's not a good movie. Obviously, I have it on the list. It is a good movie, and I do think it is slightly better than the original because it doesn't rely on loud noises to make the jump scares work. There's a couple of great jump scares in the original, don't get me wrong, but I think a lot of the scares, especially in the second one, but in the first one as well, are accompanied by that loud, piano boom, so it just automatically triggers a reaction in your body because of the loud noises. It's kind of like when people hear a gunshot and they flinch. That's what it equated to for me, at least. And in this one, they rely more on tension and building it up, and just really showed you why Leigh Whannell was such a good filmmaker and that he was going to have a fantastic career ahead of him, because this is his first film. He took over from James Wan, who directed the first two, and he absolutely kicks ass, makes you love these characters, and makes you scared for their safety. So I think this is the best Insidious movie we've gotten so far. Obviously, the sixth one is coming out in a few days, but I think that it's going to be hard to top this one or even the original. I think they're both very good, but they are going to be lower on my top 15 because, like I said, they aren't the most memorable supernatural horror movies. They were known for starting the Insidious Conjuring movie phase, so yeah. Lucky number 13, we have Halloween 2018. Now, I have stated multiple times, I'm not a huge fan of the Halloween franchise. I'm a Friday the 13th guy. That's my slasher franchise that I absolutely love. But that's not saying I don't love the Halloween movies. Obviously, I'm a horror fan. I love the Halloween movies, but I only love a select few. And Halloween 2018 has always been my favorite Halloween sequel. Obviously, the original 1978 classic will never be touched as the best Halloween film, but 2018 has always been my pretty solid second place in the franchise, just because it has some of the best Halloween, autumn, fall vibes. And when I want to watch a Halloween film, it's usually around the October, Halloween, September, fall season. And so I will typically watch the original and then follow it up with this one as just a nice little two-piece duology. I don't need to go on to kills or ends. I don't need to go to Halloween 2 or 3. I just go for the original and Halloween 2018. So for that rewatchability factor, it would be on the list on its own. But we also get an extremely violent, extremely scary version of Michael Myers here, played by James Jude Courtney. I think this is the best of the David Gordon Green Halloween trilogy by a country mile, because I'm not a huge fan of the other two, but yeah, totally deserving of a spot on my top 15, and it is my number 13. Number 12, I'm going with Paranormal Activity 2. Now, if you guys know me, you guys know I absolutely adore the Paranormal Activity franchise. Friday the 13th is my favorite franchise, and then Paranormal Activity is right below it. I love both those franchises so much, and all of the Paranormal Activity films fall under the Blumhouse name, so there's going to be a few on the list. Now, this is the first one. I think I would consider it my fourth favorite. Like I said, you'll see some other ones above it. But I really, really love this one because it could be seen as just like we're going to do the exact same thing as the original, but they don't. They actually do a few very distinct changes. You have a lot of this movie take place during broad daylight, and the scares continue on into broad daylight. You get more of a security camera look at the entirety of the house rather than just the bedroom from the original, which I kind of like how compact the original feels, but I like that they don't do just the exact same thing. They go and they make it bigger. They make it bolder, and they just have the entire house covered in security cameras so we can see scares all throughout the house. You get a few more characters in here because the family's a bit bigger. You're focusing on Katie's sister instead, and I like the kind of twist reveal where right at the start you see Katie and Mika's not with her, so you think, oh, is this one taking place after the original where Mika's already dead? But it's just kind of it's playing with your emotions because it actually does take place before the second one. And I love how this movie leads perfectly into the first one and then ends after the first movie. So I absolutely love Paranormal Activity 2, but like I said, it's only my fourth favorite of the franchise. Coming in at number 11, this one could get me in trouble, but I have never seen this as like the greatest movie of all time, the best horror film to ever exist, like a lot of people claim it is. But with that being said, it's still a phenomenal movie. Number 11, I have Get Out. Now, like I said, still a phenomenal movie. But I think people they like it a little bit too much. Like, you can like this movie, you can love this movie, but there's people who are like, Get Out is the only good Blumhouse horror movie ever made, everything else is trash. And I just don't think so. And this also led to people saying, oh, Jordan Peele is the greatest horror director of all time. And I would have to disagree with you on that because Us was not very good. It was scary, but not the best. And then Nope was just a okay movie. This one is, I think, the only one that is actually, like, a great film. Like, is a 5-star movie. But with that being said, I've never felt the need to rewatch it since my first watch because I got it. I understood everything it was trying to say. It's a relatively simple movie as far as plot and characters go. It's disturbing in some regards, but it's just never been a film I have ever felt the need to go back to because, like, I get it. I got it on my first watch. I don't need to watch it again because I already understand everything it's trying to say. But like I said, still a phenomenal movie. I'm just trying to justify why I don't have it in my top 10 because people will be pissed that I don't have it in my top 10, but I love it. It's a good movie. Starting off our top 10, we do have Leigh Whannell again with The Invisible Man 2020. Now, I would say I think Upgrade is probably my favorite film of his, but that one's not full horror, so I didn't include it on my top 15. Otherwise, it probably would have jumped up into my top 5 because I absolutely adore Upgrade. But The Invisible Man is a close second. I think it is an amazing, serious twist on the original Invisible Man. Obviously, the original is more wacky. It's more like he drinks a potion and he turns invisible. This one is it's more technical. It's more practical. It's more of like a sci-fi film where he puts on this suit that like projects cameras of what's around him to make him completely blend in with the environment. So I like that. Obviously, I'm sure it wouldn't work in real life, but it's scientific enough that, like, for the film, yeah, it makes sense that that would work, but I get how that would be completely impossible in real life. But it also doesn't just go like, oh, we have this invisible guy running around killing people. He is focused on one specific person, his ex-wife, and it's kind of like an abuse story where she got out of an abusive relationship, and then she thinks he died, but he's actually still there messing with her while he's invisible. And I love the ending scene where she finally gets her revenge. She gets her own invisible suit and makes it look like he offed himself. So, one of the best Blumhouse horror movies of all time, and when I knew Leigh Whannell was going to be a force to be reckoned with in the horror genre. Coming in at number 9, this is the one I can understand if you don't have it anywhere near your top 15. This one's just for me. I love Kathryn Newton, Vince Vaughn, and the entirety of this film. So, number 9, I have Freaky. It is not a good movie. It is not even a hilarious movie, but it's decently funny. You get 2 actors I absolutely love in the lead roles, where one plays a sympathetic character and one plays the killer, and then they swap, and they both do very good at those roles. I have just always loved Freaky. It's a film I've gone back to multiple times. I rewatch it all the time because it's just kind of one of my comfort films at this point. But I will admit, it's not the best. It's not the most well-written film out there. It's not the funniest film out there. There's some cringy moments. There's some dumb decisions, but it's a film I have always loved, and for that, I feel like I have to put it in my top 10 because I would rather watch Freaky than the films below it just because it's so personal to me. I don't know why it is, but it's a film I've always loved, so it's at number 9. Coming in at number 8, we have another personal film for me, but for a different reason, and that is Sinister. That's because I consider Sinister to be the scariest film of all time. Not the most disturbing, not the grossest, none of that. Just pure scares. I think it is the scariest film of all time. And I've seen a lot of people go on, like, Twitter and Instagram and stuff like that and say this movie sucks and it's terrible and it's not scary at all. You don't have to find a movie scary for it to be good. The scariness just adds to how much I like the film. I think it's the scariest film of all time because it scared the shit out of me, but it's also a genuinely damn good film with some genuinely damn well executed jump scares and suspenseful sequences and performances and characters, and I just think it's one of Scott Derrickson's best movies. Obviously, you'll see one that I think is a little bit better higher on this list, but I don't think he's really gone back to just this simple concept like this and just made something like that recently. I didn't see The Gorge, so maybe that is another like simple pressure cooker movie, but this one is just a simple story where a guy finds some tapes in his attics and he slowly starts to find some creepy things going on. So I really like Sinister, and I always have, and it sucks that people just like to hate on things now, because otherwise I think this would be hailed as a classic. Coming in at number 7, we're back to the Paranormal Activity franchise with Paranormal Activity, The Marked Ones. Now, why they didn't call it Paranormal Activity 5, I have absolutely no idea, because they consider it a spin-off, even though it directly relates to everything the first 4 films did. It literally continues the story perfectly. It even brings back Katie from the other 4 films. So I have no clue why they didn't call it Paranormal Activity 5, but I guess they just wanted to screw up the numbers so that they could just call them all subtitled films instead of numbered films. I don't know why they did it, but they did it. But Paranormal Activity is an absolutely amazing series, like I've mentioned, and this one is a beautiful and well-needed change of pace. I just really, really love where it's placed in the franchise, because as much as people complain about how repetitive this series is, I love 1, 2, 3, and even 4. I enjoy the hell out of 4. It didn't make my top 15, but I enjoy it a lot. But I will admit, by the time you hit part 4, it's like, okay, we've done the same thing for 4 films. Try something new. Go out there, do something. And that's exactly what they do with the marked ones. They go out and they try something new and they absolutely nail it. They introduce these two main characters that you absolutely love and feel for, and you really get to know their friendship and who they are. And it feels like a very realistic friend group that they have, with some very realistic reactions to the scares. Now, they do some illegal things because that's what teenagers do at some points. But I really like this film. Like, it is a perfectly well-placed change of pace for the series, where it's not just one location with some cameras. It's just a new found footage movie that happens to tie into the story of Paranormal Activity. So I really like this film, but it is my third favorite Paranormal Activity film, and the seventh best Blumhouse movie, in my opinion. Coming in at number 6, we have my favorite Scott Derrickson film so far, and that is The Black Phone. Now, when I did my top 30 films of the 2020s, I believe I had this movie like relatively low on the list. Or like low in my top 10. It was in my top 10, but I think I had like 8. I think I would bump it up a little bit more because I forget how good this movie is. Like, it may be a simple concept, it may be a small film, but even the supernatural elements that they implement into it makes it feel like a bigger universe, and just really makes the film bigger than it should be when it's just kind of a small kidnapping story. But then you get the side with the sister, with her like supernatural abilities, and I just really love this film. The way that they can make such a simple, grounded concept and add in supernatural elements to it just really, really works for me. I have not read the original novel, so I don't know who to attribute that to. I'm sure it's pretty close to the original novel, so the guy who wrote it, I forget his name off the top of my head, I'm gonna say he probably came up with most of the concepts, but Scott Derrickson is a great director, so I'm sure it wouldn't have been brought to the screen as well if we had gotten a less good director to do it. But he absolutely kicks ass. You get Ethan Hawke, absolutely terrifying as the grabber. I'm forgetting the actor's name who plays Finney, but he went on to play Hiccup in How to Train Your Dragon. I don't think he would have gotten that job if he wasn't so damn good in The Black Phone. The little sister's great. His friend is great. Even James Ransone in his little role is great. Rest in peace. But it is an absolutely incredible film it manages to be both a small, grounded movie and a supernatural epic. So I just love that combination, and it's one of my favorite Blumhouse films ever. Kicking off our top 5, we have another smaller film that kind of blew me away from recent years, and that is Megan. Now, it went back and forth on whether I liked Megan or The Black Phone more. I eventually decided that I like Megan more just because I went down to which one created a better horror icon, The Grabber or Megan. And I love Megan a hell of a lot more because she's just such an iconic character already, and it sucks that Megan 2.0 came out and sucked because it just killed the entire franchise, and we're probably never going to get another Megan movie after that, which is awful, and I hate that because Megan is so goddamn good, and any film where she is there, I will be there, even if it's not horror. But obviously I would have liked if the second one had been horror because she's such a good villain. She's so good as the villain, but she's also a character that you just like, and she's just funny and charismatic, and even when she's playing the good guy or the bad guy, you want to root for her. You want to root for her to kill these people that you hate, and then you want to root for her when she's your protagonist spy assassin. Like I said, Megan 2.0 isn't great, but I enjoy it for what it is. But Megan, the original, if it was a little bit gory, I think people would have considered it one of the most classic and best horror films of recent years. But instead, it's just an iconic one that people did really like. But I don't think quite as many people love it on the level that I did, because I saw this film and it instantly became a classic for me, and I bought, a little sign up there. I think I have a Megan figure. Yeah, right there. I love Megan, so it's one of my top 5. Number 4, I'm going with a Netflix original film that was produced by Blumhouse, and that is Cam. Now, if you have not seen Cam, give it a shot. Like, please give it a shot, especially nowadays. Like, when it came out, I'm sure it didn't resonate with people as much because the technology involved didn't seem realistic enough. It's realistic as hell now. It's basically about this AI that takes over for this girl who is a cam girl. So she's a sex worker, so there's a lot of nudity in it. So if you're not into that stuff, I guess, avoid this film, but there is that, and this AI takes over her job, and the entire time you're trying to figure out, is this a doppelganger? Is someone trying to take over for her? Is someone trying to just steal her job? And instead, it's just an AI who is been filling in for her because there's so much footage of her out there that they were able to take all that footage and make an AI. They don't explain quite like where the AI comes from, but the ambiguity is what really makes this film so scary to me, because you don't need to know where it comes from. You just need to know that it's bad, and she wants her job back. So it's all about her trying to get her job back and also trying to avoid her family finding out about her job. But I also like that when her family does find out of her job, they don't give a shit. They're like, okay, yeah, that makes you happy, you do you, man. And I really like how progressive and forward this film is, because, you know, sex workers and cam girls are kind of looked down on nowadays, which it's just like some people genuinely do it because they enjoy it. And like, you're gonna hate on someone's livelihood, but, you know, however you feel about them, it is a very, very good movie that has a lot of themes that are very resonant, especially nowadays with AI and the internet and all that. So I absolutely love Cam. I loved it when it came out, and it especially has climbed the list as it has gotten more realistic. So one of my favorite Blumhouse films ever, and my number 4. Number 3. We have a top 5 horror movie of this decade so far. The best movie I have seen from this year, tied with The Odyssey. I really love both of them. But we have Obsession. Now, my top 3 are all pretty indie films. And Obsession is, I think, one of the most successful indie films of all time now. I think it's at least top 3. Because this movie has made a shit ton of money, and it is amazing. It's from a first-time director, Curry Barker. I guess he made, what was the, like, YouTube movie, Milk and Cereal, which was pretty good. But a first-time feature film director, Curry Barker, who came from a comedy background, and he made this just amazing, incredible film. And people have been saying it's the most overrated film of all time, it's actually dog shit, whatever. You guys just like to have your opinion out there, okay? You just want to be different. No, it's not. It's fantastic, okay? And for those people who are like, oh, well, the plot's just so simple, everybody acts like it's so creative. No, it's because it takes such a simple plot as, oh, I wish for this girl to be in love with me, and it does so much with it. Like, it is a simple as hell plot. The most basic plot you can get. Like, I explained it to you in one sentence, and they make an entire hour-and-a-half film out of it where you don't know where the twists and turns are going to take you. It's terrifying. The performances are out of this world. You question the morality of every character. It's just such a damn good movie. The ambiguity for, did Nikki actually like her? Is Bear actually the bad guy? For me, personally, I think he's not a terrible person. He just makes some incredibly bad decisions in the film. And if you're gonna pick a villain between the two, yes, he is definitely more of a villain than Nikki, but I wouldn't say he is a villain. I would say he takes advantage of the situation and is overall not the best person. But I think you can have a film where nobody is the villain, where he is put in a horrible situation and then kind of takes advantage of it because he is getting something out of it. But I think by the end, when he does decide, okay, this has gone too far, we're done, he does make the right decision, which I know some people have said, like, is a pussy's way out because he just ends it all. But, like, it was either that or he finds another person to believe him and wish that the wish is broken or whatever. I don't know. But I personally really liked how both characters are in the film, and I think it is a film, like I said, without a villain. But I guess if you are to pick a villain, Bear is obviously more of a villain than Nikki is. Coming in at number 2, it's another Paranormal Activity film. It's Paranormal Activity 3, one of my favorite horror sequels of all time. I just think it's so good at taking everything the original did and doing the good stuff again, but changing it just enough that it's a completely new film. So it takes the original, and it doesn't go back like a week or two, it goes back like decades, into the 80s, where we get a giant VHS camcorder recording this one. And they justify it pretty well because the guy does wedding videos, so obviously he would have a giant camera like that, because not everybody had a camera like that back in the 80s. But I think this is scarier, or not scarier, but like on the same level of scariness as the original Paranormal Activity. It has some very creative scares. I really like the oscillating camera that he like takes apart the fan and has the camera like pan across. And every time it pans across, you expect there to be like a creepy face here for it to pan back across too. But they never have a scare like that. They do have scares where like it pans back across and something's changed, or there's like a little ghost sitting there or something. But I just think this is one of the greatest sequels we have ever gotten to a very, very good horror movie, one of my favorites of all time. So, like I said, one of the best sequels to any horror movie out there. I'd say it's a top 15 horror movie for me. I absolutely love it. But there's one movie from the Blumhouse catalog that I like more. Number 1, we have possibly the most overhated, blown out of proportion movie ever, because when it came out, people liked it, but now everybody just unanimously agrees it's one of the biggest pieces of shit of all time, I guess, because anytime I post a video about it, people are like, no, that's a terrible movie, you're an idiot for thinking that. Number 1 is Night Swim. Like, what are people even talking about? It is not that bad. No, it's not Night Swim. It's Paranormal Activity. But yes, Paranormal Activity gets so much hate. Like, people just unanimously despise this film, even though it is, like, I think technically the most successful independent film of all time, because the original grossed a shit ton and then it spawned 6 sequels. So, like, I feel like the success doesn't have everything to do about how good a movie is. Obviously, Avatar is not the best movie of all time, but it is the most successful movie of all time. But I feel like if enough people love the shit out of it, it's not a bad movie. Like, everybody just hates it because it's found footage, and because people are like, oh, found footage movies are cheap. Found footage movies are cheap because they don't have the budget. Now, there are a lot of films out there that are found footage and that are cheap because they just didn't want to spend a lot of money on it and because they could just make a movie for dirt. This one is found footage because they wanted it to be found footage and because they didn't have that much money to make a movie. So they had to make it found footage, and it's scary as hell, and you have these 2 characters, Mika and Katie. Mika's insufferable because you need conflict within the characters, otherwise there's no conflict, because then obviously the demon is there, but then there's just, they would just leave. They keep leaving and trying to solve this together. You need someone to be a skeptic in this situation, otherwise there's no tension between characters, and there's just not really any stakes to the film. But I like that there's tension between the characters, even though Mika's insufferable, but he's also not like a straight out flat horrible person. He's just a very flawed person who I think most people in this situation would be skeptical until he's obviously presented with hard proof and still doesn't believe her. He's a bad boyfriend, but he's not a horrendous person. He's just a very flawed person. So I really, really love Paranormal Activity. I think it's scary. I think the characters are great. And I love the camcorder look of the film. I have so much nostalgia for this film and just that kind of look, because when I was younger, my parents would record on a camcorder. So I have nostalgia for that like early 2000s camcorder look. So I've always considered it one of my favorite horror movies of all time. In recent year, it has jumped up to my favorite film of all time. So I absolutely love Paranormal Activity, and it really sucks that it gets so much hate because it's so damn good. And that is going to be it for today's video. Remember, if you did enjoy, make sure to like and subscribe. So when you want to see more videos like it in the future, make sure to hit the bell notification to be notified when I post any brand new videos. Comment down below some more video ideas for me or your own ranking, or sorry, not ranking, top 15 Blumhouse horror movies, or maybe just your top 10, top 5, maybe just your favorite. I don't know. I'll try to reply to as many people as I can in the comment section down below. And until next time, I'm EthanHorror. This has been EthanHorror. See you next time.